Today, I'll be talking about the top 10 roller coasters opening in the big 2025. This year has a solid collection of new coasters, being a mix of old models that we know and love and new ones that have been never seen before but look amazing. Before we start the list, it will consist of rides mostly from the United States, except for a handful of coasters that are either that groundbreaking or look that good. I do have 3 honorable mentions, being Flash Vertical Velocity, Fire Runner, and Colossus, but other than that, let's begin. The number 10 spot is a huge step in the future of coasters, and it's Transformers in Saudi Arabia. This ride is really like nothing that we've seen before, and truly will be a one-of-a-kind ride. The whole car being able to flip and turn in every which way like a dark ride on roller coaster track just doesn't sound real. Now, that track isn't the most intense thing ever since it's only a couple of turns and dips, but still should be a blast and insanely unique. Plus, it's going to be inside and hopefully be themed, so hopefully we get some nice themed sections or maybe even some near-miss elements. Can't wait to see where this model goes in the future, but Transformers barely squeaks onto the list, and yeah, it's just a big step for coaster technology. The first of 3 Vekoma tilt coasters being Circuit Breaker in Austin, Texas. This was the first modern tilt coaster announced, and even though it was announced 2 years ago and construction hasn't even started, it could be pushed to 2025, but I will be talking about it today, and it looks very, very, very fun. The first drop will be amazing and will have an amazing stomach-wrenching feeling. Then you go into a slew of amazing Vekoma airtime pops and inversions. I really love what they did here, having many unique inversions that give either hang time, air time, or just pure whip, then throw in a couple powerful ejector moments in between, and you can't argue that it won't be a fantastic ride. A very good-looking family coaster being Curse of the Werewolf lands at 8. This is the first of many Epic Universe rides on this list, and just because it's the last one doesn't mean it's bad. Quite the opposite, the ride looks amazing, unique, and maybe the best themed roller coaster at the park. It's in the Dark Universe area of the park, which looks very spooky and crazy detailed, and I hope that translates to the ride because in the animation, it looks like it does. And after all the theming, the ride itself is crazy, having spinning seats and a swing launch, which I don't know if those 2 things have ever been combined in just one roller coaster before. That combination on a themed roller coaster should create a one-of-a-kind experience that I will be enjoying a lot, even though it is just a kid's ride. 7th place goes to a very underrated ride being Rapterra. I really don't understand why this ride is not talked about more because it looks very fun. I love wind coasters since they're just pure fun, smooth rides that are overhated. Plus, it being the second wind coaster in the US with a launch is very different, and I love the layout and the place in the park that this ride is at. Flying over all the pathways is such a great experience for people on the ride and people in the pathways below, plus having elements like the weird outer bank turn that look very good and have some positive G's, and maybe even an airtime pop in there, and the rolls at the end look very good as well. A very underrated ride that potentially could be the 3rd best ride at King's Dominion. Next up is Minecart Madness at Epic Universe. This ride made it this far for 2 reasons. 1, because the theming on ride looks unbelievable, and the whole area around it looks amazing as well and highly anticipated. And 2, because the gimmick of jumping off the track is nothing like we've seen before. It doesn't really have any intense elements per se, but rolling around the Donkey Kong area while jumping the track and having all that new technology just looks insanely fun and very interesting. Just imagine you hit a section of track where it looks like you're going to fly off, but you magically land on the next section of track. Now, I know it's not real, and there is another track below it that actually connects the ride like a normal coaster, but it still looks sick. 5th place goes to Wrath of Rakshasa at Six Flags Great America. I personally love dives, and this is the biggest and baddest one yet. It has the steepest drop on a dive coaster being 96 degrees, which anything beyond vertical is just so good, and automatic airtime. Plus, it's not as much as a one-trick pony as other dive coasters, seeing that it has many interesting elements after that look very underrated. It has a very weird 0G roll that looks to have good whip and turns into the ground while still having that roll. Looks fun, interesting, but weird of all things. Plus 4 more inversions, including that second pretzel knot thing that's on that one wind coaster. I don't know the exact name. People were hating on the ride as soon as it was announced, but with the space they had, I think they did a really good job, and they needed a new ride desperately, and I think this ride perfectly fits in the plot of land that it sits in. The spot up next goes to Siren's Curse at Cedar Point. This will probably be the only ride on this list that I will actually be able to ride right away, so I'm very excited. I've never been on a new gen Vekoma, and this is just a perfect introduction. The drop is just jaw-dropping and looks impeccable. The inversions all look to flow so well with the rest of the track, and it just looks like it has no filler whatsoever. The airtime hills should be good if the restraints don't restrain any of the great airtime, plus the non-inverting loop looks great, and I love the one on Hollywood Rip Ride Rocket a ton. All that on some buttery smooth tracks should create another amazing ride for this world-class theme park. Up next goes to Iron Rattler at Six Flags Qiddiya. I don't know why this ride isn't talked about, but this ride actually looks insane. Like, I'm being so serious. It looks incredible. I know that Falcon's Flight is taking all the buzz from this new park, but this ride could be just as good, and I'm being so serious. It's a hyper tilt coaster. 200 feet. It's basically just Siren's Curse on steroids. Imagine a dive coaster drop, but even more nerve-wracking since you're just staring straight at the ground while connecting to the next piece of track. After the drop, it's no slouch, having many inversions that look awesome. A first-of-a-kind double 0G roll, a extended Immelman, and a downwards corkscrew. That with a onslaught of airtime hills that have at least floater and maybe even ejector, and that creates a almost perfect ride. The runner-up is the third ride from Epic Universe, and that is Stardust Racers in Orlando. Stardust Racers just looks so interesting and is a type of ride that we have never seen before, or at least one that we don't see often. Two coasters that not only duel but interact are not rides that you come across often, and if it runs like it usually does and like it does in the animation, it should be Mack's best. Usually Mack has slow launches and crawl through the layout, but in the animation the launches don't look terribly slow, and the layout looks fast-paced with many airtime moments, inversions, and other great looking turns. That combined with interesting inversions interacting all the time and other great interactive moments should make this a top-tier ride at Epic Universe. The number one spot is, of course, Falcon's Flight at Six Flags Qiddiya. This ride is in contention for the most insane coaster ever created. If Falcon's Flight was in the United States, everybody and their mother would be talking about this ride every single day, but since it's not, most people won't be able to ride it, so it's not getting as much compared to other rides. It has a 200-foot drop to start the ride, and that's not even its max height, going a whopping 600 feet, which just doesn't sound real. Then you go through some airtime hills, which, depending on the airtime, could be actually insane, going 160 miles per hour while getting ejector airtime. And many low-to-the-ground moments could make this ride elite. The most anticipated ride in a while, if I had to say, and I'm sad it's not in the US, because I'll probably never be able to ride it, but that doesn't take away how insane it looks. Thanks for watching. 2025 looks to be an amazing year for coasters, and if you want me to do a separate video on other coasters from other countries, I would be glad to do my research and do some of those. And tell me your most anticipated ride for the 2025 season. And other than that, have a good day.